Wiley Drake Show from beautiful downtown Buena Good Park, California. This is our first evening show since Pastor Drake was able to survive his treacherous journey to France and back again, where he had to deal with knocking elbows with 100,000 angry Iranians. So needless to say, he put his life at risk in order to do good things for democracy in Iran.
Thank you so much, Mr. Davis, and I'll be on set shortly.
Good. While we're waiting for Pastor Drake to join us, let me continue with some interesting things. Turns out that we've had not 7 officers, but 9 officers shot in the Dallas shooting. So we have 5 officers that are RIP, rest in peace, end of watch, as they say inside the business. And then we have 9 officers who were also shot by this bad guy. And when you hear the witnesses talking about the shooting, is that block on the screen? That thing? Okay. Where you hear the witnesses talking about the shooting, it was not a good shooting. So it is, again, one of those things where the first information that came out was incorrect. We now have better information. Problem, though, now is we just had another multiple killing of officers. This was in Michigan, in which 2 bailiffs, and I do not know if they were deputy sheriff bailiffs or court bailiffs, they haven't gotten that information yet, they were moving a prisoner from one cell to another inside the court, and that prisoner was able to wrestle a firearm away from one of the bailiffs. He shot both of them. He shot a civilian. Fortunately, the responding bailiffs were able to take him down. Kind of interesting because it doesn't really explain what he was there for, but I can't imagine a suspect within a secured facility thinking he was going to be able to get a gun away from a bailiff and escape by that. I can't imagine how he would think he could do that. We are finding out that the officers that were involved in the shooting in the officers that were involved in the shooting in Louisiana and I don't think it was Michigan, I think it was Wisconsin, Milwaukee, that turns out that the shootings that they involved in were with bad guys. One was an armed robber who had just committed the robbery. The other one was also not a nice person. So Black Lives Matter, once again, has gotten their facts completely, totally, absolutely goofed up. And it'd be interesting if somebody would sue them for lying to the public. Don't know if you could do it, but I would certainly like to see it, and put an end to this. We have some continuing developments in the Hillary is a liar case, which turns out that Trey Gowdy has put together now a very strong case showing that she committed perjury to the United States Congress, not once but 4 times. That is a felony. You don't get to lie to Congress. When Congress pulls you into a hearing and you have to talk to them, you better tell the truth. What is going to be interesting with it is how are they going to get it prosecuted? Because we know that Loretta Lynch is one of Hillary's whores, and so she is not going to do anything against Hillary. So I do not know if Congress has the authority to establish a special prosecutor for that sort of action. That's something in constitutional law that I don't have a whole lot of experience with, but I think more likely than not they would be able to get a special prosecutor appointed, and as a result of that, looks like Hillary's going to have some serious problems. Now, they could do 2 things to get Lynch to do her duty. They could either tell Lynch, hi, we've given you an order, you don't obey it, we're going to impeach you, and they can, under their own authority, impeach the Attorney General Lynch and get her out, or they could do something really cool. They have the power of the purse, and they can tell Lynch, hi, guess what? The Department of Justice is not going to be able to spend another dime from this day forward until you get Hillary indicted and tried.
Yeah.
Well, that would certainly catch their attentions and certainly create an interesting problem.
Money usually does get people's attention.
Oh, absolutely. So that is why I find it interesting. The new term that you just heard, which is really risque, and as a Baptist minister, I probably should be ashamed of myself for using the terminology. Unfortunately, it is extremely descriptive, which is why on my Facebook and on the show I started using it. If you are voting for Hillary, it's because she has bribed you to vote for her by saying she's going to give you a whole bunch of new free things if you vote for her. So the terminology I've used is you have become a Hillary whore. In other words, she has bought you, and in exchange for your whoredom, you're going to vote for her. So that's our new term for the opposition.
Hillary whore, I like it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
I like that almost as much as I like Pastor Drake's saying about Hillary, and I call her Mrs. Thunder Thighs.
That scares me.
Well, anyway.
Of course, I don't see her ever running, so I don't know where you get the thunder from. But,
from her mouth.
Ah, I see. Okay, I understand.
But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, and I apologize for coming on late. We are using another system now. We try to always have a backup system, just in case Barry Soetoro comes on the scene. Barry Soetoro comes on the scene quite often here. We have a perfectly good computer, perfectly good from every aspect. Everything was working, but somebody took all the 9-volt batteries out of it, and therefore we could not activate. The camera's activated, everything's activated, except we could not have had voice. And so, being entrepreneurial by nature, I grabbed another unit. This one is working. It's picking up our sound as well as our picture. And so we welcome you to the show, in spite of the fact that Obama's people hacked into us, messed us up, all the way from Paris to here and wherever we've been the last few days. Now, we are broadcasting to you live from the West Coast headquarters of the Congressional Prayer Conference. It is my privilege to be the chairman. And if you would like to be a deputy prayer warrior of the Congressional Prayer Conference, call me right now. I will authorize you to use that title if you'll do one thing and one thing only. Pray. 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 That's all. And we will appoint you as a deputy prayer warrior. If you're on the line, we can do it right now. We heard a bong, and I believe that means someone joined us. Caller, are you there?
Shalom, Pastors Leanne and Marvin.
Well, shalom. We've been joined by two of our deputy prayer warriors that have been officially appointed by me. They are deputy prayer warriors for the Congressional Prayer Conference, Brother Marvin and Miss Leanne, and they are excellent prayer partners, excellent prayer warriors, great shofar blowers, great participants in everything that's going on in this war. So, Leanne, how can we pray for you folks? What questions do you have, or what comments would you like to share?
Well, Pastor, today's my son's birthday. His name is Gabriel. I named him this because, according to Luke chapter 1, he's the one that said, I am he that stands in the presence of the Lord, sent here to bring you the evangelium, that's the good news. And then when he departed Mary, he said, with God, nothing is impossible.
Amen.
So, we're praying that you are at the train station ready to depart.
Well, we are...
In Los Angeles. Is that the case?
No, that's not the case. We've had a change. Thank you for asking, though. We were to be at the train station today, taking a train trip to put the train back on the track, and we're going to have to postpone that. We're not going on the train trip today. In fact, the train trip is for the near future. But on the 23rd, which is just a little over a week away, we will be leaving Los Angeles, going to our Washington, D.C. headquarters, and we will be in Washington the 23rd, the 24th, the 25th, and the 26th. We'll be doing live broadcasts on location in our nation's capital, the Wiley Drake Show, where I have done the show before. I've been kicked out of the Supreme Court with my show. I've been put in jail because of my show. We don't know what's going to happen on those days, but we're going back there because I'm going to a memorial service for a friend of mine. A friend of mine that was working in the ministry, a friend of mine who's a father, a grandfather, a friend of mine who was about to celebrate his 55th, I believe it was, birthday, and he was on duty. He was boots on the ground, prayer in the air. I was praying for him. Other people were praying for him, and he was boots on the ground in Oregon, up there, running negotiations with the federal government to try to get some of our fellows out of jail that they were wanting to put in jail for simply manning the public property there. And on the way to an interview with the police and with the FBI and the BLM and so forth, they were going in a vehicle. They had men and women in the vehicle going to this meeting with the government, and the government ambushed them along the way. And the driver of the truck got out of the truck and said, "Please do not shoot. We have women in this truck. We're not here. We don't have any weapons." Hands in the air. He said, "Please do not shoot. Please do not shoot." And they shot. They not only shot many rounds of ammunition into the vehicle, but they also shot 9 rounds into my brother in Christ, minister of the gospel, LaVoy Finicum, while he was there to try to be a good agent for the Lord Jesus, while he was there to try to bring about peaceful workings with them, with the BLM, with the FBI, and so forth. The FBI set up an ambush. We know they set it up because there were limbs cut off of trees the day before, so they could make sure they could see this spot in the road where they were going to ambush this group. They ambushed them, and they shot 9 times into LaVoy Finicum and left him to die there on the snowbank because they didn't even check his pulse after he went down. And they said that he was about to pull a gun. That was a lie. He did not have a weapon on him. They later planted a weapon, a stolen handgun that had been stolen 5 years before. They planted on him and said, "This is why we shot and killed this man." Well, why did they have to shoot him 9 times? They had to shoot him 9 times because they wanted to make sure he was dead. And that's the only reason. And that is what we're going for. On the 24th of this month, July the 24th, at 3 in the afternoon, going till 8 at night, will be a memorial service for LaVoy Finicum and the others that were terribly abused there. Then on the 25th, from 10 to 5, there will be another memorial service for LaVoy Finicum and his dear family. His wife will be there, his children, his grandchildren will all be there. And then again on the 26th, this is going to be a 3-fold memorial service. Ladies and gentlemen, LaVoy Finicum was a man of God. His family are people of God. And I am a man of God, and we know the Scripture teaches there is such a thing as a 3-fold cord. So on the week of the 24th, 5th, and 6th, we will be weaving together in our prayers. We will be weaving together a 3-fold cord. Where? From the capital of the United States of America, from Washington, D.C. We will broadcast it. We will have the phone line open, and we would encourage you to join that 3-fold cord that will be woven on the 24th, 25th, and 26th. The date on the 24th is, the time on the 24th is 3 in the afternoon until 8 p.m. And then on the 25th and 26th, it will be from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And we're hoping all of you can join us. Again, this is a situation, this is an event that you can be boots on the ground or prayer in the air. I will be boots on the ground. Dr. Davis will be boots on the ground. Mary Margaret, my producer, my campaign manager for the Western United States, probably will be boots on the ground. But for probablys or anybody who can't be there, you can be there, prayer in the air, just like you can right now. You may not be able to be in the studio, but you can be prayer in the air. Pick up your phone and call this number, 712-432-1690. And the access code is 399-430#. And I've already called that on another phone, so we stopped the music. And if you'd like to call it and ask us a question, make a comment, be a part of the show, all you got to do is pick up your phone, your cell phone, your iPad, whatever you've got, and call 712-432-1690. When that answers, it will say, welcome. Please identify yourself and put in the access code. First of all, let me say, number one, you can ignore that first instruction. You do not, I repeat, you do not have to identify yourself. You can remain anonymous. However, you do have to put this access code in order to get into the switchboard, in order to get into the broadcast unit, and that access code is 399-430#. So, call that number, 712-432-1690. Put in your access code, 399-430#, and you will be immediately placed in communications with the CCC, Congressional Communications Channel. Join us. You have a question? Dr. Davis is here. I'm here. Sister Mary Margaret is here. We'll be glad to try to answer your question, whatever you may have. So,
but you haven't answered my question yet.
What is the question?
My question is we were not able to take the train because we lacked training?
We lacked training.
Thank you.
Correct.
Okay, I wondered.
Mr. Pun himself is here.
Hey, all humor is fundamental.
I agree to that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now,
excuse me, I'm going to wave to somebody.
No, look at the camera.
No, I'm going to wave to Hitchhiker. He's watching this from the back part. But we just want to let people know that he's here and he's monitoring us.
Yeah.
Make sure we don't get in trouble.
Absolutely, and that's tough for you especially, and even tougher for me sometimes.
Yes, sir.
However, welcome to the studio.
Okay, we've got to talk about what you're doing Saturday, Stephen Davis, and...
Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't figured it out yet, based on this constant media coverage of officers being killed, people going crazy and shooting citizens, and all the other bad things are going to happen, terrorists on their way. We've now had the terrorist shooting in San Bernardino. We have the terrorist shooting in Orlando. We've now had the terrorist shooting in Dallas. And make sure, ladies and gentlemen, you understand the term terrorist. Terrorist does not mean a radical Muslim. Terrorist means somebody who uses fear and criminal acts in order to move forward some agenda that they have. In other words, a bank robber, he shoots you because he wants the money. That makes him a crook, but it doesn't make him a terrorist. But if you have somebody, such as the Dallas killer, who says, I didn't like police officers because they were shooting black folk and I wanted to shoot white officers, okay, he is a terrorist because he is trying to move forward this misbelief that somehow or another all uniforms in the United States are targeting other races. If you look at the FBI statistics, you will see that many more white Caucasians are shot by the police every year than are ever other races. So another lie that Black Lives Matter want to tell you.
Yeah.
We know that there are a lot of companies, organizations that are coming up with this gun-free zone insanity. That somehow or another, if you put up a little plastic sign that says gun-free zone, then you are safe. We know for sure out here is Regency Theaters. We know that there are some other very famous places that have come up with this gun-free zone. Ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't work. The bad guy's going to come in with a firearm. And all that it does when you put up a gun-free zone is it's a big invitation sign that says, "Hi, terrorists, enter here." And it's going to stop you from being able to defend yourself. The class that we are teaching on Saturday is an interesting combination of several different things. We have here in California a lot of law enforcement agencies that have been teaching an active shooter survival class. I have seen the class from the Buena Park Police Department. I have seen the one that Orange County Sheriff has put out. I have seen the one that Los Angeles County Sheriff has put out. And the problem is they have a couple of good ideas, but they kind of leave you hanging. And as a result of that, we took what they had put out and then added it to some other tactics that we have been teaching for almost 30 years now, which is kind of scary. And we have now developed what is known as the Alert Active Shooter Course.
And you know why that's scary? Because you're an old man, and that scares me.
I understand that, but Great-Granddaddy Davis said you do not get old by being stupid.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you're not.
Yes, I
Moving right along.
Moving right along.
Alert stands for aware, learn, escape, refuge, and takedown. That's what the term alert means. And it's a memory tool. So when you're in a gun-free zone and the terrorist shows up and starts shooting people, you can immediately go, alert! And that will then give you the plan on how you and your family are going to get out of there alive. Mm-hmm. The class is coming up this Saturday, July 16th. It will be here at the First Southern Baptist Church in Buena Park, California. It is going from 9 a.m. in the morning to 4 p.m. in the afternoon. We ask that you get here around 8:30ish so we can get you signed up, because we have lots of handout material we have to give you. We have to plan accordingly for the lunches that we're going to provide you. And as a matter of fact, what we'd really appreciate, and thank goodness what our listeners have been doing, and I appreciate the listeners that have done this, is you can text me at 951-261-0799. Put the first word in, alert, and then give me your name and who else is going to come with you and a phone number, and then I will be able to get you onto our registry. I just got contacted by a gentleman. It was kind of interesting because the first he wanted to know was could he bring his wife. And I said yes, and I'm going to make a prediction. I'm going to tell you the question that she wants to ask me at the class. And he said, how can you know that? And I said, well, because the wives always ask the same question. And he said, okay, I'll bite. What's the question? The question is, if my husband shoots the bad guy, do I get to keep the house? And the answer is, come to the class and we will teach you. If you don't want to do this by text, you can do it by Facebook. If you go to the Facebook, Stephen with a V Davis, and you'll see a little square picture of a guy in a fire officer's uniform standing next to his son.
A much younger looking man, I might add.
That's why I'm wearing a hat, so you couldn't see the bald spot.
You need to change the picture.
And you click on it.
You need to change the
picture.
picture.
You need to change the picture, yeah.
Why?
Because it makes you look younger than you really are.
And your point
It's not current. It makes you look like you're hiding your age-old beauty because you have a younger picture.
I am. I figured if people from Hollywood can do it, I can do it. And given how young you are in the picture you showed us when you were a movie star, I don't feel the least bit bad about using a photo that looks me younger.
She was a baby in that picture.
She was still wearing a diaper. Now, we're not going to go into adult diaper jokes. We're not going to go into adult diaper jokes. Now, you know what's funny about adult diapers, don't you? That depends. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, so we talked about the class, so the content.
Thank you. So anyway, so we hope to see you here Saturday. It will be well worth your while.
And before you go, though, seriously, give them your text number so they can text you to RSVP. You don't have to. You can show up. But it would just be nice. I just got back from France, and I know what RSVP stands for. It not only means you should let him know, but it means respond, s'il vous plaît.
Respondez-vous, s'il vous plaît.
Whatever. Tell them how to get in touch with you.
See, I can speak a couple of different languages, and this is the sort of abuse I get. I cannot deal with this. Anyway, respondez-vous s'il vous plaît. And what it is on my text, please, 951-261-0799. First word you put in is alert, and then after that you give me the name of the people that are coming, and a number I can get back to you at, and I will affirm that you're going to be on your way. Yes, there is a fee for this, and let me tell you what the fee is. If you respondez-vous s'il vous plaît prior to Saturday, then the fee is $80 for the first person and $60 for who you bring with you. So if you and the missus come, you get $81, $60 on the other. If you're at the door and that's the first time you show up, then unfortunately it's going to be $100. So it's a great way to save some money by just punching in that text number, and it tells us how many lunches to bring, how much coffee to have, how many donuts and bagels in the morning, and that way we can better prepare.
And you know, one of the other ways that they better prepare for these things, they want to find out if Pastor Drake is going to be there. And I used to think it was because everybody wanted to see me, but it was because the people in the kitchen thought, if Pastor Drake is here, we have to have twice as much coffee as if he's not here. So.
Well, and if that's what is going to motivate you to come to the course, is whether or not Pastor Drake is going to be here, then I promise you that I will use him as the takedown dummy as I show you how to take a firearm, a knife, and an assault rifle away from the bad guy.
And I promise you, I will be here. Amen?
Amen.
All right, now, we joked about it, but friends, it ain't no joke. It ain't no joke that I've got a pastor friend that's recuperating from being shot.
Wow.
Not because he was protesting, not because he was out on the street, but because he was leaving church one Sunday morning, making his way to his car because his wife had already gone home after their morning service, and a fellow who showed up at the service decided to take the pastor out. Well, he shot the pastor in from behind, by the way. What a coward he was. But because pastors particularly are pretty hard-headed, the bullet hit his head and grazed off. And so he did not die from the injury. His pride did, because Pastor Drake pointed out what a hard-headed preacher he was. But at any rate, his hard head saved his life. But in all seriousness, folks, we know that Jesus saved his life. Because hard-headed or not, he could have died. But those kind of things happen in the church. And we, he and I, we all need to be ready for those circumstances. So please come to the training this Saturday. The street address for the church is 6801 Western Avenue. 6801 Western Avenue in the city of Buena Park. Good Park, B-U-E-N-A, Buena Park, 90621. And someone said before, well, Pastor, if you're bringing people there to be trained because there are people out there trying to kill somebody, maybe you shouldn't tell them where you're located. You know? And the point of it is, though, folks, they can know where I'm located because I am trained and I am a pistol-packing preacher, and we do have security people, armed security people. We are a secure facility, not a gun-free zone, but a armed facility with security for the best and the worst situation. So, with that in mind, join Mr. Davis, the instructor. We'll refer to him this weekend as Instructor Davis, because he will be doing that. Come and join. Come and meet me. Come and meet, if you haven't met any of the other presidential candidates, come and meet Wiley Drake. I'm going to talk in a minute about the other two candidates and what they did not do that I did do, but come and meet a presidential candidate. I'm running for president.
One of the other things I want to include is if you decide that you would like to have firearms training, you actually want to be able to go out and be able to learn how to draw from a holster, pop caps, win the gunfight, then we will be able to give you that information on Saturday. We have an organization that we are closely associated with. You'll be happy to know that Pastor Drake already has his admission to that class.
That's right.
So he's holding on to it, and he's going to get it taken care of as soon as he can. That group is called the Civilian Arms Training Source. Civilian Arms Training Source. They have both a website and a Facebook page. Tim George is the owner and chief instructor of that group, and they will actually teach you how to survive and win a gunfight.
And by the way, a little trivia. I love trivia. A little trivia. You watch television from time to time, and when you used to see Johnny Carson come on there, he would be dressed out to the nth degree with his nice suit on and his nice haircut. And somewhere in the time when you were watching the Johnny Carson show or whoever, they would say, Mr. Carson's hair done by so-and-so. And so when you watch this show, Mr. Drake's hair is done by Tim George. The guy who teaches you how to shoot a gun is also a coiffeur. Is that the right word?
That's close enough for government work.
But anyway, Mr. Drake's hair today. I used to be bald-headed and have white hair until Mr. Tim George worked his miracle on me. And but seriously, Mr. Drake's hair by Tim George. What's the name of the company that he has there?
It's a, and please don't you dare blame me for this. It is a pun.
Okay.
And the pun is sheer artisan, but sheer is spelled S-H-E-A-R. So sheer, like scissors,
yes.
Artisan, as opposed to sheer as an exclusive.
Yes, and I know about shears because I used to be a cowboy. And we used to have to shear the sheep, and shear the bulls, and shear the horses. And so I know what a shear is all about.
Good, because one of these days they'll tell you why Scotsmen wear kilts.
Why?
The zippers scare the sheep.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, just producer Mary wants to say, and I'm supposed to tell my stand-up comedian buddies that they have to be clean when we do our Pennies for Prisoners Wednesday night open mic, and this show has not been.
It's only a matter of interpretation.
We did not set a good example.
But it is really a matter of interpretation.
Producer Mary Margaret has set a good example, though, because she is standing up for those prisoners who are in jail illegally and unkindly and ungodly, and we need to get them out. But, folks, it costs money to get people out of jail. I wish it didn't. But so what she has brought up is to do a thing called Pennies for Prisoners. And on Wednesday night, we have worship service at 7 o'clock p.m. And 1 hour later, after the worship service, we do Pennies for Prisoners. And that's where we have an open microphone. Now, so far, we've had comedians and comedians on. You don't have to be one of those. You can just come up and say your piece. Come up and give your 2 cents worth, whatever you'd like to. And we would welcome you to come. At 8 o'clock on Wednesday night, we have open mic time. We do ask you to keep your comedy on the fringes of family-friendly, please. Do not do what the Wiley Drake Show does and go off the deep end of punnery and other things. But we do encourage you to come. Be a part. Pennies for Prisoners. Prisoners, what do you mean? Well, prisoners like Clive Bundy. Prisoners like Francis Schaeffer Cox. Prisoners like LaVoy Finicum, who was shot to death. Prisoners like other men that are in jail that did nothing wrong, did nothing but stand for the Constitution of the United States and stand for freedoms and right, and they went to jail because the government said, we don't like you talking against the government, we're going to put you in jail. Just like when I was at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, and the Lord had told me that morning in my prayer time, when you go to the White House today, get down on your knees and pray. And I heard that voice in my dream, in my mind, whatever you want to call it. My Pentecostal friends would say it was God, and I think it was God, but nonetheless, I heard God say, go to the White House to pray. but pray on your knees. So that morning I went over there with Pat Mahoney and some other men who were willing to go and pray, and they warned me, don't get down on your knees, because if you go down on your knees, you'll get arrested. I said, well, I've been arrested before. So that day we walked around, we stood around, and about halfway through the time, I said, okay, Lord, if that was you speaking to me, I want to do what you tell me to do. And so I got down on my knees and I prayed. The man came over to me and said, sir, you must get up. And I said, sir, you don't understand. I'm old. I'm already down here and it would be hard for me to get up. I don't want to get up. I was trying to make a little levity and he didn't take it that way at all. He turned to me and said, sir, if you don't get up off your knees, I'm going to arrest you. I said, well, I hope you had a big breakfast, because I'm not going to be easy to arrest. At that time, I weighed 225 pounds. Now I only weigh 200. But at that time, I weighed 225 pounds with a suit and car keys and so forth extra. And so the man reached down and grabbed me by one arm and tried to pull me up, and he couldn't get me up. So he asked for his helper to come over, and the other guy came over, and he grabbed the other arm, and between the two of them, I just plopped down on my big fat butt there on the ground, and it took them a little while to get me up off the ground. And I told them, look, I had a big breakfast. You guys are going to have to work hard this morning to arrest this man. And so they did. And they said, now that you're under arrest for violating a policeman's order to not be on your knees, and I said, well, I can't think of a better thing to be arrested for than to be arrested for praying to Jesus. We're not arresting you for praying. We're arresting you for violating an order. I said, whatever. I will continue to pray, and I continued to pray out loud. And they said, well, okay, we're going to put you in the paddy wagon. Do you know the trivia about why do they call it a paddy wagon? I don't have any idea.
Because the cops used to be Irish.
Oh.
And the diminutive term for an Irishman was a paddy.
Call him a paddy, okay.
Correct. And so the paddy wagon was the truck that the Irish cops drove around.
Okay, so anyway, when we got to the truck, the door was very narrow and I was pretty wide. And so when we got to the door, I widened up a little bit, you know. And those police said, lift him up, push. And so they lifted and they pushed. And they finally got this widened out creature through the narrow door of the paddy wagon. After skinning my elbow and my head, they got me through the paddy wagon door.
Which is how you got your nickname.
What's that?
Wiley the Wide One.
Wiley the Wide One, okay.
Now, is this what led to your second crime?
What was that?
Putting that obnoxious, horrible flag on the VA fence. So this has led to your life of crime, correct?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I have a question.
Okay.
Is there actually a federal law that says you can't get on your knees and pray at the White House or on the White House?
No, it is not. What they do is they set up security barriers. They set up the cop tape and put it out there, and then they make an announcement that says this area between this piece of tape and this piece of tape are no longer allowed to travel in there. If you're in there, you must leave. If you're in that zone, you must leave. That is not a free speech zone. You must leave. And if you do not leave, you'll be arrested. And so I said, I ain't leaving. And they arrested me. They arrest you for not complying with a police officer's order. That's what the crime is.
But they know that what you did is not actually a written law.
No.
Wow.
That's right. But they use the law that says they can enforce it. And so they enforce it. And once they skint me up and scraped me up and I widened up and they finally got me in the paddy wagon, then they gave me a parade across town. Sirens and all. Motorcycles, lights, and drove me across town to a place where they said, all right, are you going to plead guilty? I said, no, because I'm not. I was praying. I didn't do anything wrong. Well, okay, send him over there. And they asked the other people, what are you going to do? And one guy said, well, just tell me how much I owe and I'll get out of here. And so they told him and he paid it and he got out of there. And then there was a few of us left that were still there in the cell. Now they put us in the cell after they frisked us. And the frisking was done on most of the people by a man. And then all of a sudden, here comes the relieving officer for the officer on the paddy wagon. And it turned out it was a lady. And so she walked away from me. I said, wait a minute. Those guys got frisked. I didn't get frisked. She said, sir, they've already frisked you. And she turned to the guys and said, did you frisk him already? And the guy laughed. He said, no, we didn't frisk him. You have to do it. And I smiled and I said, I'm ready to be frisked by this pretty woman. Now, I lied a little bit. She really wasn't very pretty, but I lied. And so she came over and she frisked me very quickly. And I said, wait a minute. They did a better job on those men than you're doing on me. Do a better job. And she said, sir, you've got to cooperate. I said, I'm trying. I'm trying to cooperate to get your job done. Frisk me even more, and you'll do your job better. And needless to say, I drew a crowd by that time. Everybody wanted to see this preacher that was demanding to be frisked by a female officer.
You know, that does bring up the Facebook message that we just got.
What's that?
It says that women are very temperamental. And
Yeah.
it says they are 50% temper and 50% mental.
Well, that's probably true.
Thank you. Okay, thank you for the loyal person that sent that to us on our Facebook page.
Amen. So, I was skinned up, frisked up, drove up, and carried across town, and after they got through, the officer come out and said, okay, sir, are you about ready to go home? I said, yes. Been ready for a long time. And I told him this, and there was another female officer there, not the same one, but another female officer there, and I said, by the way, yes, I'm ready to go home. I've already had enough ugly women feeling me up. I don't want to be felt up again by an ugly woman. And he said, she's not ugly. I said, well, that's a matter of opinion. So we had a little fun out of that day. And so finally, they said, no, he's already been frisked. Don't give him that again. And so finally the guy came over and said, look, here's your choice. This is on Friday. If you plead not guilty, we will set a court date. That court date will be Monday or Tuesday. That means you'll be in jail Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night. One officer said, I thought you preachers want to go to church on Sunday. I said, I can have church right here. I don't have to be in the church house. I can have church in the jailhouse. And by the way, you're invited, officer. And so they said, well, here's what you can do. If you go in now and see the officer, he will assign a fine to you, and you can go home today. And so I wanted to come home. I didn't really want to stay in jail all week. And besides that, the girls weren't very pretty. And so I said, I want to go home. And the guy said, if you pay $100, you can go home and not have to be here for court. And so I dug around and found $100 and said, there you go. Gave them the $100, and they said, okay, you'll be out of here in a little while. About 3 hours later, they released me out of the front gate, and I had to walk all the way back to Capitol Hill. They wouldn't even give me the benefit of a ride back, although I didn't want to ride back in the truck. But at any rate, that is part of the story. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And I don't care what the White House authorities and the police say. I was arrested. By the way, But what?
You know why all that happened, don't you?
Why?
I wasn't with you.
Well, probably.
Because when we went to court on your flag case, your further continuance of criminal activity, we got it dismissed.
Yeah, that's right. He's exactly right.
And then when your chauffeur got his ticket and we had to take him to court, we got him a nice deal.
That's right.
So the bottom line is, you have to start
Keep
kicking
you
me
with
everywhere.
me.
Yes. And, as I have always said, always carry your bail money.
Always carry your gun.
And I showed my business card that says Wiley Drake for President, Reverend Mary Margaret Steele, to a person's probation officer, and the probation officer is bending over backwards to help this person. So make sure if you're in a little bit of trouble, call Wiley Drake.
Yeah, call Wiley Drake. In fact,
let me tell you that story, ladies and gentlemen, while we're telling stories. He promised me, he says, the airplane will land it, I'm going to get all of the gate, and I'm going to be down on the sidewalk right away. And so I followed the rules of the Los Angeles International Airport, and I pulled up to the curb, and I waited. And I waited. And I waited some more. And this stupid little loudspeaker above me kept saying, this is not a waiting zone. This is for immediate loading and unloading. And I'm like going, I cannot believe this. And so he sends me a little text saying that he was trying to find a McDonald's to get a Filet-O-Fish sandwich on his way out to the gate.
That one too.
And I could not believe he said that. Sure enough, here comes an officer. And I'm like, oh my good heavens. Well, fortunately, I showed him my Pastor Drake Executive Protection ID card. And I said, I'm here to pick up a VIP. And he took one look at it, and he said, what do you think about what happened in Dallas? And so he and I wound up having a conversation there in the parking space on what happened in Dallas, and pretty soon the pastor showed up, and I didn't get a ticket, so it worked well.
good. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we are a church. I say three things about our ministry. Number one, we are a church. Number two, we are a church. Number three, we are a church. Now, we are a church, and we're here to help you. We're here to help you with things called litigation logistics. That don't mean we're going to be your lawyer. It just means we're going to help you when you litigate your case and give you the logistics of how to do it, what to do, what not to do. In fact, matter is, let me just give you an example of litigation logistics. I had a guy call me up not too long ago and say, Pastor, I understand you might be able to help me. He said, I received a citation. That's a nice way of saying he got a ticket. I received a citation for changing out of the carpool lane without there being an opening. Now, it's only a painted line that you cross over, but it's against the law to do that. And so he said, I got a ticket. I got a citation for changing out of a carpool lane illegally, and they gave me the citation. And I'm going to have to go to court. And I called up my lawyer, and my lawyer told me over the phone, forget it, don't fight it, just go up there, go ahead and go to court, and plead guilty and get the heck out. Pay your fine and get out. That's what his lawyer said. And I said to him, listen, I'm not your lawyer, but let someone who knows a little bit about litigation logistics tell you what to do. Now, he told me that his attorney said, you should just plead guilty, get the heck out of there. It'll cost you about $500. Pay your $500 fine. They'll let you pay it out in time, but pay your $500 and go back home and don't get out of the carpool lane again. And so I said, let me give you some different logistics for your litigation. When you get up there, go up there dressed very nicely. Be very quiet, be very reserved. And when the attorney or when the judge calls your case, say, thank you, Your Honor, I appreciate it. Is there something I could probably say? And the judge said, well, yeah. And here's what I told him to say. I said, you say to the judge, Your Honor, I have a family, and I have a job, and I work for a living, but I don't have much money, and $500 is a lot of money. Can you cut me a little slack? I work hard, and I've never gotten any other tickets. This is the first ticket I've had in years. The last time was when I was a teenager and speeding, and I haven't gotten another ticket since then, and I drive all the time. But unfortunately, I was wrong. He didn't say he wasn't wrong. He said, I was wrong. I got stuck on stupid. I told him to say that. And he said, I got stuck on stupid. And I got stuck on stupid. And I went out of the carpool lane because I was in a hurry. And the officer, gentleman that he was, gave me a ticket. And I know that I'm guilty. I plead guilty. And he said, what was that you said? He said, I got stuck on stupid. And he said, do you know Pastor Wiley Drake? And the guy said, well, yeah, Your Honor, why? He said, I've heard Wiley Drake say that before. He said, what do you want me to do for you? And he said, well, Your Honor, since I was stuck on stupid, Pastor Drake assured me that you might cut me a little slack. So could you reduce my fine and not have to pay so much? And so the judge says, well, how much? And he said, well, whatever you can do. Pastor Drake told me to be grateful for whatever you do because he prays for you every day. And so he said, well, I tell you what I'm going to do. Instead of charging you $500, I'm going to charge you the $60 court fee. You got to pay that today. Can you pay that today? And the guy said, yes, sir. Bet rather than $500, you bet it. So he said, you go up there and you give them this, what the bailiff's going to give you. You pay your $60. And instead of a fine, I'm going to give you so many hours of community service. And so instead of almost $500, he got community service hours. And he said, by the way, I'm going to assign you to do the community service work at the First Southern Baptist Church in Buena Park. That's where Pastor Drake is the pastor. You go there and work for him. And I hope as you do that work, you'll understand respect for the law. And you'll understand, because I know Pastor Drake's going to teach you that. And you'll understand that the next time you try to go out of the carpool lane, you'll remember that you're having to wash dishes at the homeless shelter. And so, I'm going to give you those hours of community service. And he got those hours, and he came here. And folks, I'm not funny at all, but the guy wanted to hug me. He said, Pastor, can I hug you? I said, sure, go ahead. I said, you're not gay, are you? He said, no, but I want to hug you. Because he said, $500 is a lot of money to a man that has a wife and 3 children and a minimal pay job. And he said, you saved me a lot of money. Thank you. And I just wanted to hug you and say thank you. And so that's just one of our stories of litigation logistics. And since I can't logisticize or litigate, I'm not a lawyer, and since I can't put all the logistics together, I decided I needed somebody to help me in logistics. And so we brought a lawyer on board that can help us. He'll not be your lawyer, but he'll certainly be able to help you in litigation that you need. And I use him all the time to get out of things and to appeal to an attorney. Appeal to a judge. And without an attorney. And so we can help you with litigation logistics. We can also help you with spiritual matters. You want to come to know Jesus? Are you depressed? Are you taking dope for depression? I used to do that. Been there, done that. But I can tell you how to get over your depression. I can tell you how to be high as a kite without taking drugs. I used to get high on marijuana, methamphetamines, heroin, all that nonsense. But now I get high on Jesus. Every day I get high on Jesus. In fact, yesterday I was so high, the thing on the airplane said 55,000 feet in the air. And that was because Jesus sent me to Paris, France, for a missions trip. Now, we've only got about 3 minutes.
Yes.
Mr. Litigation Logistics Expert, tell our friends how to get in touch with you if they need help.
Well, except I have to answer a Facebook message real quick.
Okay.
We've just been sent a request about the anti-CPS rally and seminar that we're having here at the First Southern Baptist Church. Person wanted to know if it's still on. The answer is yes. It is July 29th, starting at 5 p.m. That's Friday, and it's going to go through Saturday and Sunday. It will end up on July 31st, Sunday, at 4 p.m. We invite you to bring your RV or your tent, and you can camp out on our property. If you need a room, then we can get you referred to it, being that we're within 1 mile of Knott's Berry Farm. There are lots of rooms around here. We are going to provide you with interesting education, stories of survival and victory against the Child Protective Services, and what you can do to avoid the problem or get out of the problem, depending how far you are into the system. I refer you to our new and still under construction website of White Horse Family Rights Council, COUNCIL.live, LIVE. So that's another way you can get a hold of us. You can get a hold of me, as I said earlier, by texting me at 951-261-0799. Give me a one-word introduction as to what the text is about, and then I can figure out what to do with it after that. You can get a hold of me on my Facebook page, Stephen with a V Davis. That young, good-looking man in the fire officer's uniform with his young son is me, many years ago, but it's still me. And you click on that, and that gets you to me. Or you can get to Pastor Drake by
714-865-8132. And in about a minute and a half now, Mary Margaret's going to reach up there and make that square into a O. You know how to remember how to do that?
The square into an O?
Up there, right, don't go ahead and bring it up. And it should be
Yeah, the square.
now. And when I finish in just a moment, hit that square, and that will end our program.
Right.
All right?
Right.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we've got 1 minute left, and I want you to know we'll be back tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Join us then. God bless you. Have a great evening. My producer is going to end the program now.
After I say my number is 310-560-1137. If you need any prayer requests, please give me a call, and I will pray with you any time of the day.
Amen.